recording didn't work. Hopefully this time it will do.
Yes,
Fine.
sir.
Yeah. So you can see here, this is the Geneva mechanism. The red part is coupled with a table, a rotating table with different assembly stages. Different assembly stages. Fine. And this here will be coupled to a motor which rotates at constant speed. Fine. Constant speed it will be rotating at. And as soon as this pin gets inside this groove, as soon as the pin gets inside the groove, what will happen? It will rotate the red link, and along with the red link, the table will also rotate. The table to which it is coupled, that will also rotate by a fixed angle. So now can you tell me how much angle it is rotating? How much angle the red link is rotating?
360.
Ama?
360, sir.
360. I'm talking for one engagement from this point here on the left side to this point here. How much is the angle turned? There are total how many stages? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 360 divided by 6. What do we get?
60. 60, sir.
6, 60. So the angle turned by the table is 60 degrees for one engagement. Fine. So after coming here, let me suppress this. After coming here, what will happen? It will disengage here. Fine. Can you see? It has got disengaged. And after rotating from this point to this point, once again it will get engaged. It will engage with this particular corner. Are you getting it? After coming here, it will engage with this particular groove. And once again, it will rotate for another 60 degrees. Fine. Now, can you tell me, is this motion quick return or uniform? Is it quick return or uniform? Is the time taken for dwell period? That means for the period where the red link is stationary, the time period for which red link is stationary and the time period for which it is moving, are they the same or different? Are they the same or different?
Different.
Different. Fine. Why they're different? You can see here from this angle. From this angle, is it possible for me to draw something on this? I don't think so. So from this angle right here to this angle. So this angle, you can see it's an obtuse angle, but less than 180 degrees, isn't it? Less than 180 degrees. So this, because the green link is rotating at constant speed, what will happen? The time taken for this motion, which is wherein it is engaged with the red link. So this will take less time, and after it disengages, this motion from this point to this point on the other side, this angle is more. This angle is more. It's a reflex angle. Reflex means more than 180 degrees. So this motion will take longer time compared to the time taken for motion of red link. Fine. And the difference between these two we can adjust by changing the geometry or changing the design. Okay. So depending on how much time we want it to be stationary and for how much time we want it to move, that can be adjusted based on the design, the geometry. Fine. So this is what is called the Geneva mechanism. And to help you understand this application of this, I'll just share you YouTube video how it's made bearings. Okay, ball bearings. How the ball bearings are made. Okay, so let me show you where the Geneva mechanism is located. Okay. Mm, not here. It's used in the assembly almost near the end. Where did it go? So you can see here, the table is remaining stationary for some time. The table is remaining stationary for some time, and again it is moving, isn't it? The table is remaining stationary for some time. It's moving very fastly, and the thing is going to the next stage. And in every stage, some task is being completed. Some task is being completed. At one stage, it is putting all the bearings, ball bearings into it. At one stage, next stage, it is maintaining the distance between the ball bearings. And once the distance is maintained, it is putting a cover on the ball bearings from the bottom as well as from the top side. Once the cover is placed, a kind of lubrication fluid will be fed so that the friction gets reduced. So all these, each of these tasks is happening at at what we call as a station, assembly station. Fine. And there will be fixed angle between any two adjacent stations. So this is the table that I was talking about. And you can see there are how many stations here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there are a total of 8 stations. 8 stations. In our model, how many stations do we have? In
6.
this link, 6 stations. So we can use this Geneva mechanism if the number of stations are 6. But here in this video, you can see that the number of stations here are 8. So we may have to modify our Geneva mechanism so that this condition is met. So now if you look closely at the motion of the table happens really very fast. The motion of the table happens very fast, and it is remaining stationary for a longer period of time till all the stations complete their respective tasks, isn't it? So I'll do one thing. I'll just share exactly this video at this point at current time. So if you click on the link which I'm sharing now, it will exactly begin at that point. Fine. So I'm sharing that link here in the chat area, and also I'll share this in the WhatsApp. Okay, it will take some time to load. Once it's ready, I'll just share it there as well. Fine. So I'm sharing that along with the timestamp. So if you click on this link, the video will exactly start at this point wherein it shows the rotation of table. Is this clear? Any doubts here?
So the grooves are
Bearings are moving in. Sorry?
equally spaced, sir.
Voice was not. Yes, definitely. They have to be equally spaced. We cannot have unequal grooves. Fine. They have to be equally spaced. Okay. And if you see, if you get odd number of stations, what to do in that case? It may be a question which is popping up in your head, right? If there are odd number of stations, what is to be done? So you can do one thing. You can make odd number of grooves in the Geneva mechanism and use it, or one of the stations you can just keep it idle. One station will not do any assembly work. One station will not do any assembly work. Okay, so that is these are some of the ways in which you can make the adjustments. Okay, is this clear?
Yes, sir.
So please go through this particular video that I have shared, and also I'll share this mechanism with you all. So okay, this was done by a student. I just wanted to show you his name, but I don't know why the sharing option is not coming up. Let us see if it appears in the recently opened files. Yeah, you can see his name is Pranay Kumar Podishetty. So he was the student. I just was teaching about Geneva mechanism, and he also knew about OnShape. So he himself volunteered and told, sir, I want to make this mechanism. So I gave him some time in our lab, and he was able to sit there, make this mechanism, and submit to you all. So if you are also interested in making such mechanisms during our classes, then you can take up responsibility We will give you some time on the lab. Okay, the physical lab has not yet started, so that is going to be a bit difficult. But of course, Onshape is available to you anytime, anywhere, on almost any device. Fine. So there is no limitation for you compared to what limitation we had during our times. You are like a free bird. So you just have to decide for yourself. You have to take a decision that yes, I want to make this happen. Sit at one place and do this a little seriously. And these mechanisms, mind you, they will be included in the official list of 3D models. Let me show you how many 3D models we have already made. Yeah. This is a Google Docs file around 130 to 140 pages long, and it contains all the models that we have made it till now. Many of these models have been made by your seniors. You too can participate in this. Okay, you can see here there are some ANSYS models for analysis, all the experiments. These have been submitted by one of your senior, Shashank. He has made all these models for a machine drawing lab using SolidWorks. All these models are available. And these are done by another of your senior, Sai Krishna. He is now in final year. And you can see some of his models are in AutoCAD, some are in SolidWorks, some others are in CATIA. So wide range of softwares he has used. And these are for engineering graphics. So you can see on the right side, if you can see 135 pages are there in this. So really big file. And if you have some ideas of these mechanisms, you can build them, you can submit to us, and this will be maintained in the department. Fine. We have also taken a printout of all these mechanisms and they are now pasted in the lab. Fine. So even your mechanism has a chance of becoming a part of that. You just have to seriously take it and do it. Fine. So Geneva mechanism, I hope everyone has understood how it is, what is the shape of this, how it functions, and what is its application. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let me just fastly share that link here as well. Okay. 19. Fine. So if you click this, it will exactly begin at this particular moment. You don't have to watch the full video. Fine. So this is the only part which is useful to us. We want to see how fast the table is rotating and for how long it is remaining stationary. Okay. So moving ahead, we have to next take up the topic Hooke's joint. Okay. What is a Hooke's joint? What is a Hooke's joint?
Stress is directly proportional to strain, sir. At a proportionality limit.
That's come on, that's Hooke's law. You're getting confused between his law and his mechanism. So Hooke's joint, or what is that? Hooke's, what is it called? Hooke's joint. Yes, Hooke's joint is also called as universal coupling. Hooke's joint is also called as universal coupling or universal joint. Okay, so this is what it looks like. Okay, it's not perfect, of course, and you can see that some of the geometry is interfering with the other geometry. Fine, but the important thing here I would like to point out is the axis. One axis is input axis, the other axis is output axis. So let me show you the top view first. So can you tell me, are these two axes parallel to each other? Are these two axes parallel to each other? Let me put them in motion. Okay. And yeah, this one. Okay. Yeah. So now you can see the motion. Are the two axes parallel to each other?
Yes, sir.
Yes. What is the meaning of parallel? Parallel means the angle between those two axes has to be 0. Now here, if you see, one of the axis is horizontal, isn't it? One of the axis is horizontal and the other axis is inclined, isn't it? The other axis is inclined, isn't it? So no, they are not parallel and they are not even coincident. Fine. If they are not parallel, they cannot be coincident. They can be intersecting at one point. Fine. So the intersection is having somewhere here in the middle. Okay. You can see there is some geometry here which is rotating slowly, and that's where the two axes are intersecting. But they are definitely not parallel. They are definitely not parallel. In Oldham's coupling, we had seen that even though the axes are parallel, but the axes were parallel, but they were not coincident. Fine. They were at some offset. They were at some offset, and still we were able to transmit motion. Still we were able to transmit motion. Okay. Oh, sorry. So I thought of starting the video, but it seems to be interfering with the sound from system. Anyway, so is this clear? This is what is called the Hooke's joint. And Hooke's joint, what is the speciality of the Hooke's joint? What is the speciality of the Hooke's joint? Come on. What is the speciality of Hooke's joint? Even though the axes are not coincident, the motion can be transmitted. Fine. Even though the axes are not coincident, motion can be transmitted. That is the speciality of the Hooke's joint. And it is very simple in construction. There are no higher joints, higher pairs. All the pairs are lower pairs. Fine. And that's what makes it easy to maintain, easy to manufacture, easy to replace, and all these things are very easy. Fine. So can you tell me another example wherein we can transmit motion when the axes are inclined to each other? One more example.
Knuckle joint.
Yes. Knuckle joint is not for rotation, ma. Knuckle joint is not for rotation. Actually, if you see closely here, there are two joints of knuckle here. Knuckle joint has only one revolute joint. This one has two revolute joints at the center, perpendicular to each other. Fine. So no, knuckle joint is not another example. I'll just give you some hints. So this other mechanism is a very symbol used for mechanical engineering. In most of the universities, mechanical engineering is represented by this symbol.
Gears.
Gears. Fine. What kind of gears? Again, there are various different kinds of gears we have, right? We have spur gear, we have helical gear, we have something called herringbone, and all kinds of different gears. So which gear are we talking about here? Bevel gears. They are called bevel gears. Fine. Let me show you how the bevel gears appear. These are the bevel gears. Fine. Can you see that? Okay.
Yes,
Is it
sir.
visible? So these are called bevel gears. And here also you can see one axis is horizontal, the other axis is vertical. So not just perpendicular axis, we can change the shape, we can change the design of the teeth so that we can transmit motion at any angle. Okay. And which one is better? Which one is better? Is the gear better, or is this mechanism better that we just are watching here, Hooke's joint? Which one is better?
Gears.
Gears are better. Why?
Hooke's joint is complicated, sir, compared to
I told,
gears.
come on, Hooke's joint is more simple. Gear teeth are very difficult to get. Each teeth has to be of same length, and you have to
So better in what
precisely machine it.
sense?
Huh? Even if one teeth
Better
goes,
in sense, sir?
sorry, your voice is breaking.
Better in what sense, sir?
Better from the maintenance point. Is it easy to maintain? Is it easy to manufacture? Or performance wise also. So you have to compare it from all aspects. Fine. Now every mechanism will have its own advantages and its own disadvantages. So let us compare these two. What are the advantages of this compared to the gears, and what are the disadvantages of this compared to the gears? Both things we'll have to check.
Sir, gears is gear to produce gears. It's complicated, but with machines, if you automate, it's not that hard. Sir.
Anything else? Actually, the gears are more difficult to manufacture. Fine. Actually, the gears are more difficult to
Sir,
manufacture.
gears give less efficiency, sir.
Less efficiency. Okay, there are higher pairs involved in the gears. So you can assume, okay, there will be a slightly lower efficiency. Anything else? There will be some sliding motion between the teeth as well, and that sliding motion, because of friction, will reduce the performance of the mechanism of the gears. Fine. So is there anything else? Is there any other point? Okay, let me talk about it. You can mute yourself. Those some disturbance is coming up. Okay, thank you. So the most biggest disadvantage of using the Hooke's joint is the motion transmitted is not the same. If input is given at constant velocity, if input is coming at constant velocity, the output will not be at constant velocity. That's the biggest disadvantage. That is the biggest disadvantage. Fine. So we'll have to do a derivation. We'll have to see actually how this difference in the velocities will come up. Okay. We'll see that in next class. Fine. I'll just prepare it nicely, because even the textbooks, the derivation is slightly confusing. So I'll just do it in a better way so that it's easier to understand. I'll simplify it and then I'll present it to you. Okay. So hope you have understood this Hooke's joint, how it is moving, and the greatest disadvantage here, I told you, while the input is at constant speed, output will not be at constant speed. Fine. While the input is at constant speed, output will not be at constant speed. So how the output will vary at different angles, and what is the reason for that, the derivation and all, we will see it in the next class. For today, I hope you have understood what is Hooke's joint at least. Okay. The next thing we'll take up is the Ackermann steering gear. So what is the steering gear mechanism? What is the steering? What is steering? Come on, anyone? You don't know steering? Oh yeah. Sometimes I wonder whether I should laugh at you or cry at you, at your knowledge. Steering is, in the car there'll be something which people hold while driving. That is steering. So when you rotate the steering, the tires, the front tires will rotate, and that's what helps us to move the vehicle left or right while taking the turns, isn't it? So that's what is called steering. Okay. Now steering mechanism, and there are various different types of mechanisms again when it comes to steering mechanism, steering gear mechanism. Ackermann steering gear is one of them. Ackermann steering gear is one of them. Okay. So I haven't made a 3D model. So those who are interested in 3D modeling, here is your chance. So since I have not made this model yet, you can take up a responsibility of making this using Onshape, and you can share with me. And when you share, your model will be maintained in our database. Okay. So let me show you a video from Mr. Ujjwal Rani. He's a professor from Maharashtra. And for kinematics of machines, he has made a lot of videos. In fact, he was the inspiration for me for making these 3D models. Fine. Rani, and we were talking about steering. I think I've also made a complete playlist containing all his videos. I will share you the link to that as well. Advertisement. Let's wait for skip. Yes. Skip. So as I keep telling, Ujjwal Rani, Mr. Ujjwal Rani, professor from Maharashtra, he uses MicroStation to make all these models, and it looks very beautiful. Fine. So what you see here is another steering mechanism. It's called Davis steering gear. Okay, but we don't have this in syllabus. I don't know whether university will ask questions with respect to this or not. But one question for you all: when the vehicle turns, when we rotate the steering, will the left tire and the right tire rotate by the same angle or different angles? If you have been
Different.
really observant, yes, different.
Same angle.
Will they rotate by same angle or different? How many of you say that they rotate by the same angle? Raise your hand. How many of you say that they rotate by same angle? Please raise your hand. Let me see. Let me see how many people are raising the hand. Okay, so 3 students are telling that they rotate by different angle. Is it? Different angle, huh? Or same angle?
Same angle, sir.
So you are telling they are rotating by same angle. 4 students. 4 students are
Yes,
telling,
sir.
yeah, the list is growing. Okay. So 5 students are telling they are rotated by same angle. So I think you have not been very observant. Fine. Look, there are so many vehicles on the road, right? There is the lorry, there is bus, car. Fine. So many 4-wheelers are there in the on the road, moving on the road, and you should observe how the tires rotate. Fine. So maybe you didn't observe it carefully, or probably you observed them for very small turnings. For very small turnings. So when the turning is very small, there won't be much difference between the two angles. But when you have to take a very steep turn, fine, sudden turn if you want to take in within a small distance if you want to make the turn, then this difference will become obvious. Fine. So you can see here on the right side,
Sir,
yes, ma'am.
so can you share the screen again?
Okay, is it
I'm
stuck?
unable to see the screen, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you for letting me know. I'm sharing it again. Okay, is it now visible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So is this video clear? Is it visible?
Yes, sir. It's clear.
Okay. So on the right side here, you can see that the right side tire, now the vehicle is taking right turn, right? The vehicle is, in this case, the vehicle is taking a right turn. So when the vehicle is taking a right turn, the right side tire has rotated by more angle and the left side tire has rotated by less angle. So why is this necessary? Can anyone tell me? Why is this necessary? Apply your CS and tell me, why is it necessary? Why the right side tire has to rotate more? Why the left side tire has to rotate less?
To cover
Why?
less distance while turning.
Okay. Is that the only reason? If there is more distance while turning, then they can rotate by same angle?
Hmm. Don't know, sir.
Don't know. Anyone?
To avoid skidding.
Yes, very good. Very good. Fine. So you have good understanding of the mechanics involved here. So to avoid skidding is the right answer. Fine. So, just from joking point of view, don't take it very seriously. Uh, uh, a married person, he's always compressed between the two opposites, right? So from one side his wife will be pulling him, from the other side his mother will be pulling him, okay? So it becomes very difficult for this person to survive in such cases, isn't it? So the situation here is slightly similar to that. So if if the two tires are not coordinating well, what will happen? One tire will try to go right side, one tire will try to go left side. So what will happen? In such cases, there will definitely be some skidding. And because of this skidding, there will be friction between the tires. There will be a lot of wear and tear, and even the vehicle will not go on the desired path. Am I correct? The vehicle will not even go on the desired path. So this is the problem faced if the rotation of these tires are not taken into consideration. Fine. So in fact, all the tires, the axis of all the tires have to converge at a single point. That is the condition for correct steering. That is the condition for correct steering. Are you getting it? Because whenever there is rotation
sir.
happening, the paths on which all the tires are moving, they have to be concentric at a single point. They have to be concentric at a single point. Only then they will all move as a team. They will all move as a team. If this is not coordinated properly, then one tire will try to go some other way, the other tire will try to pull it on the road, and there will be a lot of disturbance coming up. There will be skidding happening, the vehicle will not move as we desire it, and of course the tire will also wear out very fast. Okay, so these are the problems, and these are the very problems because of which we have to design the steering wheel, steering gear, or the steering mechanism very carefully. Okay, so right now the gear, the steering mechanism that you see on the screen, that is another steering mechanism that is called Davis steering mechanism. And this one is an exact steering mechanism, is an exact steering mechanism. So let me show you how that happens. So here you can see he's explaining that the axis of all the tires, please mute yourself, some disturbance is coming up. So the axis of all the tires, they are meeting at a common point C. Fine. At this point will always be a fixed point no matter what is the angle. Fine. So when the vehicle is moving straight, the two axes are parallel to each other. So when the axes are parallel to each other, where they are meeting each other? Where do the parallel lines meet?
Infinite, sir.
At infinity. Fine. So the radius of curvature is infinity. A straight path has radius of curvature infinity. Fine. And the two axes are meeting at infinity. So as we start rotating, what will happen? As we start rotating, what will happen? What should happen?
They'll
They
slowly
should
convert, sir.
yes, they should always converge at some point. They should always converge at a common point. Fine. So he will show you the convergence point in two different positions. Fine. So you can see in this position they are converging at a common point. Is it? The backside axis is not changing, and the front side axis, both the front side axis, they are converging somewhere on the bottom axis. Now let us see in a slightly different position. Okay, let us see in a slightly different position. So he will change the direction slightly, and once again he will show that these points are converging. You see, now he has changed the position, and still even in this position also you can see that the two axes, they are converging at the same point, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So this particular mechanism called Davis steering gear mechanism is an exact steering mechanism, and at any point, in any position, the four axes will always converge at a single point. Fine. This can even be mathematically proved, and that proof was included in the syllabus. But this time around, I don't know whether that has to be included or not, because it has not been mentioned by name. It has not been mentioned by name because Davis steering mechanism is not present in the syllabus. Fine. So this is the syllabus for you. So he's just mentioning Ackermann steering gear mechanism. Okay, there is an yes at the end. So I don't know whether he is expecting you to study about other mechanisms also. So just to be safe, I'm just showing you the Davis steering mechanism as well. Fine. So this is the Davis steering mechanism. So let me me explain what is there in this mechanism. So this pink link that you see here, that is having a fixed angle. The angle between these two links is not changing. This is a single link rotating about this rotation point. Fine. This is the pivot point, you can say, and this is the point about which this pink link is rotating. Fine. And this link, this side of the link is having a slider. Fine. This side we have a slider, and that slider is attached with a straight link. That straight link is again sliding parallel to the line joining these two pivot points. That line which is joining the two sliders is sliding parallel to the line joining the two pivot points. Fine. So that is how this particular Davis steering mechanism is. So here you can see when it is moving, this is how it is moving. Fine. So the slider is sliding on this line, and the point, this line, the line that is joining the two sliders, is sliding on this this horizontal line. Okay. And of course, this slider over here is again sliding on this particular link. So whatever angle is turned by this line over here, the same angle will be turned by the tires. The same angle will be turned by the tires. Okay. And this is how the Davis steering mechanism works. So there you can see that there are a lot of sliding mechanisms. There are a lot of sliding mechanisms. Fine. And this is what makes the manufacturing and maintenance slightly more complicated. Slightly more complicated. Fine. So the rod has to be exactly straight, and the sliders, they have to be working perfectly. There is a lot of friction. If you want to reduce the friction, you have to lubricate it properly. So these are all the challenges with the Davis steering gear. Now coming to the next one, this is called Ackerman steering gear. This is called Ackerman steering gear. So Ackerman steering gear is basically a 4-bar mechanism. Ackerman steering gear is basically a 4-bar mechanism. Okay. Okay. So I see zoomed in at any point. No. So you can see this link here. On the left side, there is an L-shaped link. That is a single link. So whatever angle this link over here is rotating, whatever angle this link here is rotating, the same angle is rotated by the tire. The same angle is rotated by the tire. And the same goes on the right side. The same goes on the right side. Fine. And these two links at this point, the blue link that you see, the blue line that you see, this is another link which is more like a coupler. This link, the blue line, works like a coupler, and it keeps both these tires in sync. Fine. Coordinated with each other. And of course, this pink frame, you can see the frame is the fixed point, as I always keep telling, and that has to be counted as a single link. Fine. So this complete what to say, Roman number 2 type shape, that is the frame. Fine. So this is the frame. Along with the wheel, these two lines, they represent one link. Along with this wheel on the right, these two lines, the pink lines, they represent the third link. And finally, this blue line represents the fourth and final link. Okay. So let us see how this motion occurs, and whether the condition for steering will be satisfied here also. Okay. So you can see now he is starting to turn. So once again, observe this carefully and tell me, are both the wheels rotating by same angle or different angle? Are both the wheels rotating by same angle or different angle?
Different.
Different angle. And the inner wheel is rotating more than the outer wheel or less? Inner wheel is on the right side. Outer wheel is on the left side. So inner wheel is rotating more or less?
Rotating motion.
Yeah. So inner wheel always rotates more than the outside wheel. Okay. So next, let us see whether the axes are meeting on the backside axis. Fine. Are they meeting?
Yes, sir.
Yes. No, any two non-parallel lines will intersect. There is no doubt with that. But is the point of intersection on the axis of the rear wheels?
No, sir.
No. Fine. So this is the problem with the with this particular mechanism. Ackermann steering gear mechanism is not an exact steering mechanism. Mathematically, we cannot prove it. Mathematically, there is no proof for this. So we can call the Ackermann steering gear as approximate steering gear. Fine. What do we call it?
Approximate steering gear.
Yeah, approximate steering gear. Because the intersection point of the front two axes will not be on the intersection of will not be on the axis of the rear wheels, and this means there will be some amount of skidding possible here. There will be some amount of skidding possible here. While designing the mechanisms, we have to ensure that the skidding is as low as possible. Fine. So this is up to the engineer. Fine. So he has to try various different models. Various different models he has to try and find out in which mechanism the intersection point is continuously maintained. Okay. So this is up to the engineer. Okay. Is this clear? So
Yes,
from
sir.
the from the syllabus point of view, if you have steering gear mechanism in the syllabus, you may have to do a derivation to find the dimension relation between the dimensions for the Davis steering mechanism. But when it comes to Ackermann steering gear, there is no such proof. There is no such proof. Fine. So I guess one of the reasons why he kept only Ackermann steering gear is because there are already a lot of topics included in the first chapter. Fine. So he was probably trying to simplify this, keep it simple, and hence he didn't mention Davis steering gear mechanism. But the problem is that people who make the question paper, if they are very ambitious, they may actually ask a question on Davis steering mechanism as well. Okay. So just to be on safe side, you should know both Davis as well as Ackermann steering mechanism. Fine. So once again, I'm sharing this particular video to both of you. Once again, let me share it exactly at the moment where Ackermann gear starts. Okay. So this is where the Davis ends and Ackermann starts. So this is the point I'm sharing at current time. If you are interested in watching the full video, of course, you can watch it. You can rewind back anytime and you can watch it. What I'm trying to do here by sharing exact time is so that you will watch the important part at least without waiting. Okay. So I'll also share it here in the chat. So there is no need to download these YouTube videos. Okay. So students who are downloading and uploading on YouTube, there's no need to download these videos. They belong to Mr. Ujjwal Rani, and let us watch it on his YouTube channel. Fine. You should get benefit of that. So you just take the link, if needed, add it to your playlist. Don't try to download it. Fine. It's not a good idea. It's not being professional to download others' videos and use it for personal uses. Okay. So the mechanism is shared, and we just have around 10 minutes more. Do you have any doubts? Have any doubts? With all the previous classes, if you have any doubts, let me clear it. Oh. So this is starting to bother me. Every time I ask a question, you are completely silent. So this creates a doubt in me whether you are listening to the classes or just turning on your mobile and going somewhere. Some students are, talking on WhatsApp. Their sounds also we can hear. If you are continuing like this, I'll have to make the mid-exam really difficult for you. Fine. If you continue with this, I'll really have to make the internal exam or whatever exam is there. I'll just be making very difficult. It's up to you. If you're interacting in class, answering the questions, I'll try to make it a bit easy. But if you're like this, then I'll have to test you in the exam. That will be the only possibility. So in the previous class, I was talking about this coupler curve, isn't it? I was talking about this coupler curve, and yes, let me open the sheet, Google sheet containing the calculations. Yeah. These are the calculations. Okay, and these coordinates, all these coordinates, I have used these coordinates to create these points. So each of these points are created from those coordinates. Okay. So in fact, if you want me to confirm this, I'll just confirm for one particular angle. Let's take 60 degrees. Let's take 60 degrees here, and I'll have to go for parametric dimensions, angles. Let me make this 60 degrees. Okay. So when the angle is 60 degrees, you can see the endpoint here is at this point. So what is the coordinate of this point? The command I'm using is li list, and you can see for the selected point, okay, the coordinates, only this point I'll select and give li command, and you can see the coordinates here. Are the coordinates visible? 29.8, 72.9, and 0. So these coordinates are taken from this Google sheet. Fine. So for 60 degrees, you can see the coordinates are 29.8, 72.9. Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
So all these points, all the points that you see in the AutoCAD file, they have been created using these coordinates. Fine. All the points that you see here, they're all created using that thing. Okay. Let me increase the thickness a little more. Is it clear? Okay. So now, before okay, so before making the mechanism itself, I have created all the points and I've joined all these points with a spline. With a spline. And now what I'll do, I'll remove this constraint. I'll remove this constraint, and let us see by moving this. Let us see by moving this. Okay, let me remove all these things. Okay. So now let us see by moving this. Okay. So the mechanism is moving clearly. At this position, you can see this is exactly the point it is passing through. Fine. And at any position, you can see the point E. This point is what I'm talking about. This point E is traveling on the path. On the path. Okay. So it is traveling on the path. Are you getting it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is how you can generate the coupler curve without knowing what the mechanism is looking at. Before making the mechanism itself, if you know the dimensions of all the linkages, you will be able to find out the coupler curve path followed by that point. Fine. So in fact, with this automation, if I want to change the link length, I can do that directly here. Fine. So all I have to do is change the length of linkages, and automatically the final coordinates will be generated. Fine. Automatically the final coordinates will be generated. Fine. And with those points, we can create this this curve, and then again by changing the length of all these linkages according to what we fed here, we can just confirm that it is indeed following the same path. Fine. Is this clear? Any doubt?
No, sir.
So next class
Sir,
we'll be doing a lot of derivations. Ama?
Sir, in
Only
real
3 minutes
life,
are left, right?
which steering mechanism we use?
Sorry,
In real
please
life,
repeat
which
your
steering
question.
mechanism we use, sir?
Which
Steering
steering
mechanism.
mechanism is used in real life?
Yes, sir.
As I told, both of these mechanisms have their own advantages as well as disadvantages. The advantage with Ackermann is it is using only Revolute joints, easier to maintain, easier to repair, easier to replace. Everything is easy. But the biggest disadvantage is that it is not accurate. That means some amount of skidding may occur. Okay, that's the problem with the Ackermann gearing mechanism. Whereas with Davis steering gear mechanism, the Davis steering gear mechanism, as I told, it has a lot of sliding pairs. It has a lot of sliding pairs. So sliding pairs mean there is a lot of friction involved, and also manufacturing becomes a little difficult. Manufacturing, maintenance, replacement, all these steps become a little difficult. Fine. So it depends on the company. Fine. If you are making a car which is very costly, cost is not at all a constraint, then you can even go for a Davis steering gear mechanism. Fine, because you can invest more amount and ensure that the mechanisms are manufactured correctly. Okay, but if you want to make a car which is low in cost, you want to reduce the cost as much as possible, and if you are ready to accept some error whatever appears, then you will go for Ackermann steering gear. Okay, so it depends from company to company. It's not hard and fast rule that we are using only this mechanism or only this. These two mechanisms are again given in our syllabus. Apart from these also there will be a lot of other mechanisms, and different companies may go ahead with different kind of mechanisms. Okay, hope I have answered your question. Is there any other doubt?
No, sir.
So I want you all to interact. Fine. The way my classes are shaped, they are not shaped from exam point of view alone. Fine. My classes are aimed at giving you the extra skills. Fine. You've been seeing me using AutoCAD, OnShape, and all the different mechanisms wherever possible. Wherever possible, I have made the 3D models. Wherever I don't have the models, I'm using YouTube to give you an exact idea about how these mechanisms are used in real life. Okay. So ask your doubts. You will definitely get doubts. You should it's up to you to ensure that you are asking and getting these doubts clarified. Okay. So again and again I'm mentioning, try to come up with doubts, try to ask the doubts. It doesn't mean you will look stupid. You're just looking stupid in front of your class. Fine, these are all your classmates. You have to spend around some more years with each other. There's nothing wrong with this. But imagine going to your boss, and there are people who are ready to pull your legs, push you down because they are in competition for salary against you. And in front of them, if you look stupid at that time, then it will seriously affect your career. Instead of that, if you look a little stupid now, there's nothing wrong in it, right? So even if you think that your question is stupid, or something will happen, people will laugh at you, don't worry, these are your classmates, fine. But getting laughed at when you go for the job, that will be a really bad idea, fine. So I hope you are taking my suggestions seriously, and hope you'll come up with more and more doubts in the future. So the time is over. You can leave the class, join whatever class is scheduled next. Thank you.
Good, thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.